bond yields go up or down or remain the same. If you're a TV pundit and your job is to explain the outcome after the fact, then there's no reason to worry. No matter which of the three possibilities comes true, you'll be able to explain why the outcome perfectly fits your pet market theory. There's no reason to think of these three possibilities as somehow opposed to one another, as exclusive, because you get full marks for punditry no matter which outcome occurs. But wait, suppose you're a novice TV pundit, and you aren't experienced enough to make up plausible explanations on the spot. You need to prepare remarks in advance for tomorrow's broadcast, and you have limited time to prepare. In this case, it would be helpful to know which outcome will actually occur, whether bond yields will go up, down, or remain the same, because then you would only need to prepare one set of excuses. Alas, no one can possibly foresee the future. What are you to do? You certainly can't use probabilities. We all know from school that probabilities are little numbers that appear next to a word problem, and there aren't any little numbers here. Worse, you feel uncertain. You don't remember feeling uncertain while you were manipulating the little numbers in word problems. College classes teaching math are nice, clean places. Therefore, math itself can't apply to life situations that aren't nice and clean. You wouldn't want to inappropriately transfer thinking skills from one context to another. Clearly, this is not a matter for probabilities. Nonetheless, you only have 100 minutes to prepare your excuses. You can't spend the entire 100 minutes on up, and also spend all 100 minutes on down, and also spend all 100 minutes on same. You've got to prioritize somehow. If you needed to justify your time expenditure to a review committee, you would have to spend equal time on each possibility. Since there are no little numbers written down, you'd have no documentation to justify spending different amounts of time. You can hear the reviewers now. And why? Mr. Finklittinger, did you spend exactly 42 minutes on excuse #3? Why not 41 minutes? Or 43? Admit it. You're not being objective. You're playing subjective favorites. But you realize with a small flash of relief, there's no review committee to scold you. This is good, because there's a major Federal Reserve announcement tomorrow, and it seems unlikely that bond prices will remain the same. You don't want to spend 33 precious minutes on an excuse you don't anticipate needing. But then you have no reason not to prepare for all three options equally. A sudden worry seizes your stomach, and your focus collapses into the bond's exist-equity configuration. Perhaps the central bank announcement is about raising or lowering bond prices? You doubt whether it could be a total surprise. Your fundamental assumptions are unclear about whether central banks act as predictable businesses in a nice, clean business context, or whether their actions are imprecise and unanticipated like people in an out-of-control TV game show, or unattributed fake news stories in 4chan. Yet if it were possible for the announcement to be a total surprise, then your expected minutes of prep would also be total surprises, with equal time spent on all possible outcomes. But such a result is excluded by Bayes' rule. This must not be true. The universe can't possibly be a Bayesian paradise where every human and every computing system make judgments based on evidence with equal probability. A standard game theoretic scenario allows a benefit that the payer prefers over one he receives from a play he hates, depending on the definitions used in a given situation. So in order to confirm whether Bayes' rule applies equally in your current context, you would have to multiply together all three options. It seems impossible that the answers will all sum to more than 1 minute, given what you know. So it must be that bond prices are going up, Therefore, the central bank's announcement will be an increase in bond prices because that will make the biggest excuse necessary. But for bond prices to increase, some other yield curve would have to change. A bank failure might increase interest rates in another country, for example.
Failed to fetch, failing to fetch, failing to fetch, fetching to fail. Filching for dollars. I always have to include that in there somewhere. Movie mode. I don't know if you get movie mode or there's this program that takes out the web links of my screen to enable me to sleep. Haha, like that works.
Perhaps a currency collapse in some emerging economy is going to result in increased volatility in their exchange rate to dollars. No matter. You now have a 2-minute emergency preparedness statement which fits exactly within the maximum time permitted. I anticipate that bond prices may rise or fall substantially tomorrow, depending on the announcement made by the central bank. My recommendations are: don't ask me to tell you whether bond prices will go up, or go down, or go up slightly, or not change a lot. My prediction is based on very complicated uncertainty in financial markets. When people ask me about bond prices tomorrow, I suggest you use my advice in your investment plan as long as the possible outcomes are likely to occur within the next month.
You're very
Gain
helpful.
theoretical returns. The ball is rolling. Here's what game theorists are paying attention to. What do they imagine about human lives? Suppose there's an official government announcement tomorrow. To anyone watching the announcement, there appears to be an element of random chance about what the announcement will contain. Their experience could be approximated as one of pushing buttons randomly without knowing the result. Then you go home and you buy the next morning's stock quotes. There you are, exalted above every mortal creature, considering the latest set of buttons which the system will push in its infinite capacity, since you can't even tell for sure whether tomorrow's quote will be higher or lower than today's. You decide that for the sake of speculation you will not consider the stock today. It's silly. After all, your spending affects tomorrow's market price even more than a non-existing factor would. An additional term on an account can go straight into your assets. For instance, it doesn't make your asset rise anymore or lower its value, since no money is removed or added, yet the calculation is somehow simplified with zero real information. In real life, there's nothing stopping you from wondering how much worse yesterday's price might have gone or how much higher this morning. Nothing stops you from drawing the consequences. Your costs today are subject to a problem, which must be solved with the paradoxical thought problem called knowledge. Someone may now decide that his strategy in the hypothetical official government announcement scenario would be to have each stock fluctuate independently on different days, without noticing any trends except perhaps of an unexpected nature. The way he can deal with tomorrow's unpredictable returns even as he sleeps, because they are already paid for today, including any random extra income, and thus the profits can be judged properly at a later date. Now it's Monday tomorrow, and it's been a roller coaster day so far. Maybe a big thing could be happening. Whatever it is, he decides. It will go directly into his brokerage account without checking tomorrow's news. First hint: just ignore tomorrow. His low-hanging fruit strategy means he needs to pick stocks with fractions, such as 3 digits, 4 digit, or 5 digits. 4 or more zeros to keep up with fluctuations today. Then he gets some fake data like stock. Broker trading patterns in different types of businesses. Fractions have special requirements, and their colors and formatting can help tell you what is a big problem. He does this trick for all major globalized economic factors as well. If anyone notices this person's scheme and wants to do it more directly, then the person should employ more arbitrary and synthetic visualization schemes like fractional Fokker drift space, temporal concavity, etc. Really, they just need to become so incomprehensible that it makes human math of things calculations useless. If AI ever catches up, whether you say it will dominate or control in its relation to the human brain, it will do this successfully to almost every other person of significant ability. One would expect it to try harder at the AI race, but since it might try harder with physics instead, or perhaps simply trying harder all by itself, is exactly as strong a competitor. Certain kinds of predictions can be predicted in a certain kind of future, but even if one believes the stock markets can predict these kinds of outcomes, some human strategists think so, others do not. Many are convinced that those futures will not follow logically and methodically or consistently from their stock market returns. Most importantly, they do not follow the ways people explain their own thinking by first answering one question and then using the answer to ask the next question in their explanation. Why do they ever stop at I want to explain my explanation so badly I just filled in the missing details? No, instead they will carefully show every step of the process that they went through to discover some exception that definitely proves their point, and there's no other point of view which might be as relevant until the true position of all variables and causal assumptions is reconfirmed using even more quantitative thought patterns. Now go, and then we know all we needed to. Stock price, targets, or best estimates of spot market rates are seen as having special significance. So obviously such estimates or targets must also contain something special in their conceptual underpinnings, which means their estimating process must contain something special which must be somehow hidden to avoid distortions arising from all sorts of accidents. From simple differences between supply and demand, which people don't actually need to be so excited about, or even worse yet, people trying to manipulate prices. All such target estimators could then be classified as having digested part of the explaining part, because a better explaining is impractical because the ticking time bomb exists and cannot be optimized at all, or possibly by breaking a wall because of all the confusion of these explications. However, this might also be different than people simply refusing to take any extra computational complexity into account if they don't find a benefit which equals a fraction of all computational complexity used. However, they won't admit such a loss because this will destroy all hope that they'll someday make it. We already saw this basic notion in earlier concepts such as people want to be sure, yet not too sure even if you could have exactly zero chance of making any wrong answer less than one. There are strategies people try in real life which try to follow this part and whole at the same time. For instance, people think in abstract symbolic formulas this part is okay, so then they will take this special idea as if they have forgotten all their old thought feeling, which would not be right. Like something normal for your friends or friends' friends who always count for reasons so as to sound convincing about something important to you. The forgetting itself is called collective. A framework like this seems like it should apply in math for programming problems, where it might help identify real improvements for various tasks, like targeting to optimize algorithms or predictions that seem to involve things humans want to be true.
A little more, a little bit.